Facts tell, but stories sell. Now, what the heck do I mean about that? Well, I'm Jim DeLorenzo, and I would like to welcome you to Storytelling with a Purpose. I've spent the last 25 years helping people share and shape their stories, from entrepreneurs and executives to athletes and nonprofit leaders. This season, I'm focusing on something that's at the heart of everything I do, media training, but not just the kind that preps you for a tough interview or a TV appearance. I'm talking about media training as a tool for clarity, confidence, and connection. So storytelling, facts tell, but stories sell. What does that mean? Well, facts are what you get for your head. That's a headspace decision. But stories are a heartfelt connection. And when we're trying to build business, to build awareness, to build membership, to build interest, we want to go for the heart because that will influence the head down the line. So when stories are the most powerful tool that we can use to sell our ideas to our audiences, our intended audiences, the people we want to work with, the people we want to sell to, the people we want to have in our life, either professionally or personally. So, as an example, storytelling, getting heart share that leads to mind share. Storytelling is in our core DNA. It's something we all know how to do, but some of us don't know how to tell that story. Media training is a way of helping you find the way to tell your story. For example, I've worked with clients who have great backstories and they don't really know the value of that backstory until I have sat down in the room with them and discussed why they started their business, why they got into the career that they have, why they wrote the book that they wrote, or why they're doing this event that they think is so important that they want to share that with the world. And when I interview a client and I start embedding myself with my clients, I am a private investigator who works in public relations. I look at it as a journalistic point of view. I want to find the story that's at the core of that person and that business and that opportunity. And then through those interviews with them, I gain more access to their story and more interest in what they're doing. And I can greater involve them in the media training so that they can feel confident in going out there and talking to people about what they do. When I was a kid and I started in this business, I had a toughest hell time explaining to my mother and father. My mother was a housekeeper. My father was a businessman. He owned a camera shop. But I couldn't explain to them what I did until I got my story straight. And it took me a long time in public relations to explain to my mother and father what it was that I did. But over time, I began to realize that if I could show them what I did, share with them what I did, they would understand what it was that I was doing. So when I was working in college sports, my mother and my father attended a lot of the games that I was working at in college sports, and they could see from their seats in the grandstand what it was that I do every single day of my career. And that gave them an awareness of what I do. And I was in their hearts as not only as their son, but as, hey, I see what he does every day. I know how hard he works. Now I know what it is that he does. And in that way, I embedded my mother and my father in my early career so they could understand what my story is. That's what I do with my clients in media training. I try to find the inner core of that person, that project, that mission, and relate that to a story that they can tell over and over again. And that will give them confidence in what they do and telling people what they do and sharing that story. And then we can get to the nitty gritty. Then we can get to the bare bones of what they are doing, those facts. But up front, you want to get that story, that personal story, that interesting story. How do you find that story? Well, I spend a lot of time with my clients learning their backstory, as I said. And then when I come back to them after a couple conversations, I have an idea of what would be a great message for them to deliver, to share. And I will also come back to them with an idea of a target audience that they want to tell that story to. Then we rehearse. I do a lot of mock interviews. I record some mock interviews. I do some things off camera with them. And then I will play it back for them and help them critique what the story looked like. And we'll rehearse it again, and we'll rehearse it again. And then I let them loose. I'll schedule an interview, or I schedule an appearance, or I'll put together a podcast opportunity for them to be a guest. And in the preparation for that podcast or that interview, I will help them practice. I will help them practice the story. I will have information about the person who's interviewing them, how they've worked with other guests of their show or people they've had on TV with them or other stories that they've written about other people. And I will share that background information about the interviewer with my client. That way we can have an idea of how that person approaches a story. Now I know their audience and I know their story and I know the best way to frame the story. It's not crisis management. It's reputation management. It's storytelling management. It's creating a story that you can fall back on when you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. Well, this has always worked for me. I'm going to start here. And only through training and only through conversations and only through practice do we arrive at that comfort area. It can happen very quickly for some people. It can take a little time for some people. Right now, I'm working with a client who needs a little bit more time, and that's okay. I'm happy to help her prepare for the next phase of our campaign. We're not rushing into any interviews. We're not scheduling any interviews until she feels comfortable with her persona. And that persona has to be genuine. And the only way to get that to be genuine is through practice and through repetition and through comfort. So that's one of the things that I really think media training can do for her and for other clients that I've worked with. And that's why I talk about facts tell, but stories sell. Once you know the story, you can share the facts, but get the story up front, and help the people that you're talking to understand a little bit about you. You share a little bit about you, and that gets them drawn into your story. I have other ideas to talk about in regards to media training, but I wanted to start here because I think the storytelling and the fact that stories sell, or story selling, as some people have referred to it, is a very important aspect of what I do and why I believe media training is an essential for the people that I work with. What can media training do for you? What can working on the principle that facts tell but stories sell do for you? It will help you get clear on your message. It will help you speak with confidence and connect with your audience, whether you're in front of a camera, on a microphone, or with a potential client. Thanks for joining me today on Storytelling with a Purpose. If today's episode sparked a question or an idea, or if you're thinking, hey, maybe I need some media training myself, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help you find your voice and tell your story. Until next time, keep telling stories with a purpose and heart.